dear children, I welcome you to the radio learning program, which is produced by Rwanda Education Board with support from UNICEF. So this is Teacher Mary. I'm going to teach you social studies, and specifically for P5. And our dear parents, thank you for supporting our children. We really appreciate you. So children, are you ready for today's lesson? Do you have your notebooks and pens ready? Because you'll be writing down exercises that I'll be giving you. Are you ready? I hope you're ready now. So children, can we do a recap of what we learned in the last lesson? What did we learn in the last lesson? Okay? Do you still remember? So we learned about the national symbols. We looked at the national flag and the 3 colors of the flag. We looked at the national motto. And we also looked at the national currency. We learned about the national motto, the national constitution, the national currency, and all for our country, Rwanda. So let us have a short break and then we continue.
Come along and play with us.
Welcome back. So today, we are going to learn about leadership in our province. We are going to learn about leadership in our province. So you can also find this topic on page 48 and 49 in the P5 SST textbook. Page 48 and 49 in the P5 SST textbook. So these are the objectives of today's lesson. At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to define leadership. You'll also be able to mention the main leaders in our province and their roles. And then you'll also explain the factors that contribute to governance. That is what you're going to be able to achieve at the end of this lesson. So to start with, let us look at what leadership is. We have said we are going to study about leadership in our province. So we need to know what leadership is. Can you think about it? Can you write it in your notebooks? Okay? Can you share with the person next to you? What do you understand by leadership? And what is it? So leadership is the act of guiding or managing others. As simple as that. It is the act of guiding or managing others. So leadership is important in our province, because it helps in directing and planning resources and also meeting the needs of people. Because remember, it is all about guiding and managing others. So it helps in directing and planning for the resources and also meeting the needs of the people. So therefore, a leader is a person who is given the responsibility of guiding and managing others. So a leader is a person who is given the responsibility of guiding and managing others. So that is what leadership is. So in our province, we have so many leaders. So there are so many leaders that we have in our province, and they provide services to the people in different ways. So who are those leaders that we have in our province? The main leaders. Who are the main leaders? Who are the main leaders that we find in our province? Okay, the following are the main leaders we have in our province. So the governor. The governor is the head of the province. The governor is the head of the province. The cabinet of the governor. That is also a leader. We have also the executive secretary. And we shall be able to look at the roles of all these leaders that we have at the province. But now let me be able to just mention them. We also have the coordination committee. They are also leaders. We have many directors of the departments. We also have the secretary committee and also the province executive secretary. So let me go through them again. These are the main leaders we find at the province. The governor, who is the head of the province, the cabinet of the governor, the executive secretary, the coordination committee, the directors of department, the Secretary Committee, and the Province Executive Secretary. So those are the main leaders we find at our province. So now we are going to look at the leadership style or democracy in our province. What is the leadership style, or what do we understand by democracy in our province? Okay, can you think about that? Especially democracy. What do you understand by democracy? Thank you. So democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Let me repeat that. Democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. That means the government, the way it is guided or the way it rules, it is always for the people. And it is the people who chooses how they are to be led. And then, it is always done for the people. So democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. So democracy gives people freedom to exercise their rights by electing their leaders. It gives people freedom to exercise their rights by electing their leaders. So when the people are given a chance to elect their own leaders, it shows a sign of democracy. Because remember, we say democracy, it is the government of the people. For the people, by the people. It is the people who choose how they are to be led. And they always choose their own leaders. So whenever people are given a chance to choose their own leaders, that is always a sign of democracy. So where people are given a chance to choose their leaders, there are so many instances, There are so many ways of how people are able to choose their leaders. So we need to know that people can choose their leaders in different ways, One, they can choose their leaders by voting through secret ballots. Children, we have already seen where people have gone to elect our presidents. Whenever they are going to elect, they get a piece of paper where they tick the candidate they want. So we can vote our leaders through secret ballots. Leaders can also be appointed. You can be appointed by the top leaders, So leaders can be appointed, and also leaders can take on the leadership through inheritance. So there are different ways how our leaders can be chosen. Through secret ballot, they can also be appointed, and they can also be inheritance. It can be inherited from one person to another. For example, in the kingdoms, kings always take on the leadership through inheritance. Let us have a short break and we continue.
Come along and play with us.
Welcome back. So we were looking at, democracy and how people can be chosen or elected. So we are going to look at the role of the leader in our province. What is the role of any kind of leader in our province? And we said a leader is a person who is given the responsibility of guiding and managing others. But there are so many kinds of things that the leaders have to do, So those are the roles of a leader in our province. What are the responsibilities of a leader? Okay? So there are leaders in our province who perform different roles in providing services to the people. In Kinyarwanda, a leader is called umuyobozi. So we should respect our leaders because they help us get services in the province. We need to always respect them because they are always above us. The following is the role of a leader. There are so many things that the leaders need to do in the province. So this is what they have to do. They need to promote development. So a leader needs to support in guiding people on how to plan activities that bring development in the province. Like agriculture, business, trade, all those activities bring development in a province. So a leader needs to promote development. He also needs to solve conflicts among people, because in any kind of community, there will always be conflicts. And so a leader is there to help in solving those conflicts among people. A leader needs to coordinate between the people and the government. He needs to share ideas of the people to the government. Because there are so many other leaders who are above the leaders of the province. So every time he gets ideas from the people, from the community, he needs to share to the government leaders who are responsible, who are able to solve the problems that the community has. So he needs to coordinate between the people and the government. So a leader needs to also guide people on how to use resources. There are so many resources in the community, but sometimes people do not know how to use them. So he needs to guide people how to manage and handle the resources that they have. They need to provide social services to the people. For instance, they should be able to identify areas that need schools. If there are areas that need schools, the leader can organize on how to set up a school in that area. And also hospitals and roads, because they need to be established in a community. So a leader needs to identify the areas that need the schools and hospitals and be able to know how to establish them in those particular places. So a leader does all those responsibilities that we have looked at. So now, this brings me to a question. What are the qualities of a good leader? All that we talked about were the roles of a leader, but also a good leader needs to have certain qualities. And what are they? Okay? What are the qualities of a good leader? 1, a good leader should be exemplary. A good leader should always set an example for others. Others should look at him as a role model. They need to learn from him. So a good leader needs to be a good listener. Because, the leader needs to always solve conflicts of people. So he needs to listen to people. Whenever they come with problems, he needs to listen carefully to them and solve their problems. A good leader should make good decisions for the people. Whenever you're leading people, make good decisions for them. That is going to benefit all the people. He needs to be kind and honest. He needs to be creative. He needs to think of so many ideas on how to solve problems that are in a community. He needs to always be a good conflict solver, because there are so many conflicts that can arise in a community. So a good leader, he always needs to know how to solve those conflicts that may come up in a community among the people. So let us have a short break and we continue.
Come along and play with us.
Welcome back. So now, let us look at the factors that contribute to good governance in our province. What are the factors, or what are the things that will be able to contribute to good governance in our province? Yeah? Can you think about them? Can you think about the factors that contribute to good governance in our province? What are they? Okay, so let me share with you. There are so many things that we should put in place to provide good governance and development in our province. There are so many factors. So one of them, cooperation. We need to cooperate. When people work together by cooperating, they improve on good governance because they are united and they bring peace and they have good ideas. They are able to improve on good governance. Democracy. So when people are given a chance to participate in electing their leaders, good governance is ensured because people make their choices. They make their own choices. And in that way, we shall have good governance. So people need to be united. They need to have a spirit of togetherness. When people are united and work towards a common goal, this brings about good governance. If people always have same ideas, whenever they choose to do something, if they set up to construct a road and all people join efforts, they are able to achieve that goal easily because they are united. Harmony. When there is peace in an area, it helps to promote good governance because there are no conflicts. People are working towards something that is developmental. They are trading, they are having businesses, and in that way, people are all united and we have good governance. And lastly, respect for leaders. This helps to promote a good relationship between the government and the people. Whenever people respect their leaders, they listen to them. And also the leader is able to coordinate them with the government and they solve problems of the people. So can I summarize all the factors that help to contribute to good governance? So we have looked at cooperation, democracy, we have looked at unity, we have looked at harmony, and also we have looked at respect for leaders. We have looked at cooperation, democracy, we have looked at unity, we have looked at harmony, and also we have looked at respect for leaders. So how can good governance contribute to development? How can good governance contribute to development? So what we looked at was the factors that contribute to good governance. So if we have good governance in an area, how is it going to be able to lead to development? So this is how good governance can lead to development. Good governance, we said it leads to development in an area. So through good governance, people are able to benefit from the services provided. Because we have good governance, the services are provided easily. The services like excellent security, there's good medical care, good transport, good communication network, and democracy. And if we have all these services, people are able to benefit from them because there's good governance, people are living in peace, they are living in unity, and in that way, they are able to get all the services they need perfectly and excellently. There will be security in a place. People will be able to access good medical care. People will have good transport. They will be able to transport their goods from one place to another. They will communicate easily with any kind of person, and there will be democracy. People will always make their own choices. So that is how good governance leads to development. So, dear children, we have come to an end of today's lesson. So let me summarize everything that we have learned in this lesson. We have learned about the meaning of leadership and what democracy is. We saw the factors that contribute to good governance in our province, like cooperation, harmony, unity, and respect for leaders. And so, hope children, you're able to write all these things in your notebooks. Did you write some of the things? Okay. So, thank you so much for paying attention. And for your homework now, you're going to find out the names of the leaders that you have in your province. Find out the name of the governor. Find out all the names of the leaders that you have in your province, because it's very good to know their names. And also find out their specific responsibilities. So now this brings me to the end of today's lesson, and hope you'll join me in the next lesson. Bye-bye.